What is your purpose as a leader? You think about boardrooms, we always think numbers, and it was certainly not a question that was easy and quick to answer, because we're so used to answering strategic ambitions, how we want to grow, forward-looking views for a business. All of us as leaders sat quietly in that boardroom. And I signaled my readiness to provide the first response to that question. And I said, without being ashamed, that I actually live in a tale of two cities, actually. It's one thing to come into the boardroom or great rooms where the lights are extremely stunning, right? But also there's a reality that when I go home on some weekends, I go back to the home of IWD Bank in Mpumalanga, for those that know eMalahleni, where I grew up, that as you drive through the streets, there is abject poverty. I have family, I have friends who don't have jobs, and you see the dreams of youth that have been shattered. I'm a child of the African soil, proudly. I grew up in the dusty streets of eMalahleni. I did experience a life of not having enough. To the extent that at some point in my life, as a family, we lived in Mkhukhwini, and all of us know that because we understand that as part of our history. And I was taken back to the cold winters and the hot summer days when you could actually think of frying an egg on corrugated iron roof, if I have to put it that way in English. And I ended my reflection in the boardroom and I said, if I leave this role as managing executive of a mortgage business for the SA market and I haven't made impact, I will not forgive myself. Because all of us, wherever we are, we have a significant responsibility to check and challenge, to think about the decisions that we make, to think about how we influence with courage and boldly, and I love using the word because my colleague used it, undeterred, right? And I said, my purpose is very clear. While I'm in this role, my purpose is to leave impact behind. In housing the nation and how we do it, particularly as we think about other segments of the market that are underserved, but also in how we shape the industry in a meaningful way. I think a lot of us that are close to the industry understand the construct of the industry that we operate in. And I say that as a business, we are alive to the context of the continent, the context of the country. And hence our renewed purpose is very clear. Empower Africa's tomorrow together, one story at a time. Because we have a fundamental role to play on the African continent. And banks have a systemic role to play in society. That's a reality. We've got the influence. And I think as I think about the bank, we have the privilege and honor of having a view across every part of our economy, from aeronautics to agriculture, from shoe cobblers to shipping, from historic and traditional spaces to brave and futuristic endeavors. We see that. The nature of banking means we touch every single component of the economy, whether it's individuals or businesses, and larger organizations and small organizations, both in public and private sector. We have a responsibility to understand those challenges, opportunities of every industry, and understand the dreams of the societies in which we operate. I think to us, as I think about it, for us, financial inclusion is much deeper. And I can tell you now, we fundamentally understand we've done a lot of work, but there's a lot to be done. I can tell you now, I'll be honest to say, I'm the first one to say, we still have a lot of work to do. A lot has been done, and I'll speak to some of those elements from a property perspective. As a bank, we've supported affordable housing, and I'm focusing on affordable housing because This is where we see the segments of the market that struggle to enter home ownership. We've leveraged strategic partnerships such as the IFC, International Finance Corporation, with a social loan to the value of 2 billion. And through that, we continue to support the segment affordable housing. We also partnered with the African Development Bank in 2024 for a sustainability-linked loan for an amount of 2 billion. And this financing will help us to continue to boost SMME, but also affordable housing. But I also want to be very specific. We've grown this affordable housing book, and I give an example because I come from ABSA. Very small, 2019 going back, 8.5 billion. I speak openly because we spoke about growth in our affordable housing books. To 2023, we actually sat at 17.8 billion, which means there's been significant growth over time. In tough economic times, for the consumer, as a mortgage business, we've helped over 80,000 families through financial distress in the past 2 years. As a banking industry, we have used the levers that we have at our disposal to lead and impact with purpose in society. And we do this through the Banking Association of South Africa, which is ABSA, where we work together to find solutions that impact the entire sector, enabling us to offer the right financial products and solutions to support inclusive growth. And we continue to do so through dedicated and concerted effort. I do think if I come back into this room, the responsibility we have, and on every single platform, is to ask those tough questions. And I was happy to hear the first panel, the conversations that we're having. Are we doing enough wherever we are? Could we be innovating more, improving the services that we offer, the products that we offer? Could we partner differently? Are we comfortable with the progress we've made today? And those are the questions we have to continuously check and challenge ourselves on. I also reflected on a stat that Kaya Lam Foundation had shared. I think this was back in 2023 when they said in South Africa today, there's an estimated number, but between 5 and 7 million homes that are owned by municipalities, with at least 20 million South Africans living insecurely in them. Many of these properties were built back during the apartheid government. And many families have built their own small properties, but have no title. It's dead capital, no title. And this reduces the residents of those homes to just mere tenants, with no way of securing the properties to be left for their families and those that they leave behind. A major factor when we think about housing and how we enable participation in the economy. When people feel that they have a stake in the country, the possibility of hope and individual control manifests, and meaningful economic gain can be realized. And that is the power of what we mean by unlocking possibilities. Today, IKLM has facilitated a transfer of over 13,000 title deeds. But it's not enough. And whilst we'll celebrate, there's still a lot of work to be done. And hence I said earlier that as leaders we need to reflect wherever we are on the decisions that we make. Where there's inaction, where there's no action, we move backwards. I also wanted to quickly share, just in closing, a couple of other key elements which I think will lead into the great conversation in our panel discussion. As ABSA, we've also concluded a 4.5 billion loan agreement with the IFC, again, through the Market Accelerator Green Construction Program. And often in these deals, I think it's easy to think that actually maybe they don't benefit the lower segments, right? But we've agreed through that deal that more than 50% of the benefit must be for affordable housing transactions. We continue to play an active role in the affordable housing space, and we offer borrower education to empower many with what it means to own a home, and what it means, what options you have when you run into difficulty. We also drive financial inclusion within the agricultural sector to boost economic growth, alleviate poverty, and enhance food security. We also support inclusive financing and enterprise growth for SMMEs, women and youth, to foster economic empowerment, reduce gender and generational disparities, and promote overall societal development. By facilitating access to financial resources and entrepreneurial opportunities, we can contribute to building more resilient, diverse, and equitable economies. It is why we continue to even invest in digital, and I was happy to hear the comment around scaling digital capability. And we continue to do so because it is so important to making sure that we touch many sectors of our society. Have we done enough? No. Can we do more? Absolutely, we can do more. Could we be executing faster? We can, absolutely. Could we be innovating and improving how we deliver? Absolutely, we can. Can we do it on our own? No, we can't. We can't do it on our own. That is why we fundamentally believe in partnerships and collaborations, but in platforms that allow us to listen, and internalize, and think about the decisions that we make in boardrooms. As we reflect on our achievements and lessons learned, as a bank, we have great optimism about Africa's future, grounded in the resilience of its people, the immense potential of its economies, and the positive impact that purpose-driven organizations can support and shape a sustainable and prosperous future for the continent. I've got two messages, and messages to the future leaders. The message to us as leaders currently today, I think you need to reflect tonight. What am I actively doing, wherever I am, to make a fundamental difference? What actions am I taking to actually help with execution and improving the African and moving the African continent forward? To the future leaders that have brought a smile to my face and a smile to all of us in the room, I sit here today and I'm glowing in my heart. I'm glowing in my heart because many of us were once where you are. And I want to remind you that you can be anything that you want to be. Coming from a very difficult background, I never thought today I'd sit as a managing exec of a mortgage business. That's the art of possible. That's the art of possible. It can be done. Is it scary? Yes, there are days that are challenging. There are. But the light that is in here is because I know I've got a fundamental role to play in this continent to empower Africa's tomorrow. Thank you.